Hey, it's Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD. As a physician for over 30 years, I've made it my goal to help you create a great life by achieving a strong mind, a healthy body, and an unshakable spirit. What I'd like to talk to you about today is why in the world would we pray? Why pray? Does it even work? Why waste our time, right? No. Well, many people will ask that because they have had bad experiences or they just have never believed in prayer. So why would we do it? What I talked about in my previous video is that there are many studies, really clinical studies. You can go to PubMed, P-U-B-M-E-D, PubMed, and you could just type in prayer. Does prayer work? And you'll see dozens of studies that come up. And what those studies show are that many times outcomes will improve when people have others praying for them. Now, does that mean that we should do it as a means to an end? Meaning we pray for something and it happens, and if it doesn't happen, then prayer doesn't work and we're not going to believe in it anymore. The people who are praying in the studies, what they do show is that the outcome may not be what you expect it to be. So for instance, if you're praying for someone not to die and they end up dying, what the studies also look at is what their life was like in the duration of time when they were sick, when they were dying. And many of those studies will show that the people actually experience a much peaceful transition. Another argument, if you will, about why should I pray is that if God is in control of everything, then God knows if I should die, if you should die, if this bad thing should happen, if that bad thing should happen, if this person should get sick, so why pray? If God's not going to, if it doesn't matter, why pray? Well, what if, again, we don't know exactly what the outcomes are going to be? Think of prayer not only being for the person or situation that you're praying for, but think of it also for yourself. Because if you could humble yourself to feel that you are not at the center of the universe, the center of the world, the center of the earth, that everything revolves around you, and that's a little bit dramatic. I know you don't feel that way all the time. But if you could view prayer as also being beneficial for yourself, because you're humbling yourself, you are getting a sense that there's something greater than yourself, that maybe there's other factors that we don't have control over, that may be at play here, influenced by your humbling of yourself. And with that feeling, with that internalization of this, it can cause an inner peace. And with this inner peace, gives us a peek inside to the answer of why should we pray. Humbling ourselves to a greater force or a greater energy or something larger than ourselves is sometimes hard to admit, and especially for those who are grounded in the belief that everything we know, everything that we experience is right here, is here and now, firmly, our feet are set, we can feel the earth. But there are some questions that open up the door to the possibility of a greater force or a greater energy. And these are concepts that I started thinking about really early in my life, probably before I was even 10 years old. And one of those concepts was infinity. So what is infinity? Nobody really knows. Infinity basically is that space that we can't explain. You might say that, well, no, I don't believe in that, in anything greater than our physical world. I believe in science, okay, the Big Bang Theory. Well, yes, okay, so let's say there was a Big Bang Theory. But really, we can't answer and we don't know. We don't have the sensibilities to know what came before the Big Bang Theory or where, as the universe is expanding from the Big Bang Theory still, where is it going? We'll say it's infinity. I know in math class, I was a math major in college of all things, but math is a very interesting concept to explain our physical world. There was, to digress a little bit, there's a Greek philosopher, mathematician named Pythagoras. And Pythagoras lived about, I guess it was about 2,600 years ago. And some of you know what's called the Pythagorean theorem in mathematics class, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, Pythagoras was a philosopher who believed that the only way that we could go beyond the physical world is that if we understood, if we could explain the physical world. Once we understood our physical, logical, sensible, rational world, then we could transcend it to the illogical, the irrational, of the ethereal, of the unknown, where, let's say, God resides. And he felt the way to do that was through mathematics. If any of you know Greek philosophy, you know that Plato was the teacher of Aristotle. And Plato was a Pythagorean. So Pythagoras was really a philosopher more than a mathematician. And the reason why I bring that up is because these concepts of infinity are mathematical concepts, and they're used because we can't explain what's out there. So the physical world and the physical mathematics and science can only explain so much. For those of you who believe that this is it, I'm solid right here. My head is a rock, right? And that's it. Well, guess what? I hate to say, and I'll humble myself, but I'm mostly empty space. Yeah. And guess what? I'm 60% water. When I say I'm mostly empty space, that's because 99.9% of me, or more, 99.9999% of solid matter is empty spaces. It's made up of atoms. And an atom is a nucleus that contains elements, like a proton, and electrons circle that nucleus. Between the electron and the nucleus is empty space. Empty. Nada. That means everything you see, what you believe to be real, is actually empty space. And it depends on the bonds that they make and why they feel solid, more solid than others, but that doesn't matter. Those bonds are energy, and it's empty space. So in a sense, when we're praying to that emptiness, that empty space. But not only are we praying to that empty space, but we're praying to the possibilities, the potential of what I believe exists outside of ourselves, which is a higher entity. I call God. I call my monotheistic creator, the belief of that monotheistic creator that is at the origin of this beautiful universe that we have. And yes, there's room for science, and there's room for logic and mathematics. But outside those, there exists a world that we can't explain, a world that I believe only God explains. And when we pray, we tap into that world. And not only do we tap into that world, we allow for the possibility of extracting some energy from that world to come down or come up and perhaps create things or help us in situations in our own life. Please comment on situations that you've had where prayer has helped you or helped those that you've prayed for. I want to hear it. Share it. Let's start a discussion. And while you're at it, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these videos. What I've spoken about before is that one of the areas where I see prayer being used, of course, as a doctor, is in health-related circumstances. And one of the greatest areas, one of the most profound areas where people turn to prayer is when a loved one is sick or dying. And there's a concept that I've developed over some years when I think about death and dying, and when I speak with family members of those who have loved ones who are dying or seriously ill, is the concept of right time. And what I've developed and what I've learned through my inspiration, through what I've called my inner guidance. That inspiration, inner guidance, I'm going to talk about a lot in my Patreon video. I would encourage you to take a look at that. On Patreon, I go more in depth into all concepts about mind, body, and spirit and teach you how to achieve what you're learning about in these videos so you can make your life great. So the concept of right time is, it's never the right time when someone dies. We've heard it for so long, so often we hear, oh, he died before his time, she died before her time. We hear those words and we felt those words because we all know of people who have deceased when we feel they shouldn't have. They had so much more life in them. So what I've learned, and through, again, my inspiration, inner guidance, and years and hours and days of prayer and introspection, meditation, is that when people die, they die at exactly their time. It's the right time for them. It's never the right time for us, but it's always the right time for them. Then why pray at all? If it's predetermined that someone's time is up on this earth, and many of the scriptures have said that you will live the length of your days, then all those days that you're supposed to live, you live and then you die. It's predetermined. God says it, and that's it. Then why pray at all? It's a valid point, but this is how I would answer that. What if it's not somebody's time? What if there are circumstances in somebody's life that has caused them to accelerate their time? So for instance, I don't believe that suicide is the right time, God's right time. What if somebody abuses themselves with poor lifestyle, poor life choices? I don't believe that when they die due to those life choices, that it's their right time. So in cases where we just don't know, we don't know what God's will is. We don't know, and I say God's will, some of you who are listening to this video don't believe in God, or you believe in a different God than I believe in, which doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned, because when we pray, when we look to that higher authority, we're all on the same level. God is in all of us, or God is in none of us. So let's say it's not somebody's time. Let's say due to all those things that I mentioned, somebody has accelerated their time. It's my belief that that's why we pray. We pray because somehow, when that energy is pulled together from you or multitudes and is focused on that circumstance or that individual, it will pull upon that energy, that godly force that can promote change. But that change may not be the change that you expected. But what it will do, it will set the wheels in motion, whether it's on the outside or on your inside. Because when you turn to that higher authority and pray, it will put you in a better position to help that person. Because you will not be so consumed with worry. You will not be so consumed by fear. It will be as though a weight is lifted off your shoulders. And then you could be more of a help to that person. And maybe that help, due to your praying and your meditation, will allow you to do the things that you need to do to get that person better. So that's why we pray. If you like what you're hearing and you feel that somebody else could benefit, please share this video with them. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel below. By doing so, you'll make sure that any time that I record a video, you'll be notified and you'll get to see it. So if you pray just to make yourself feel better, it doesn't matter. Because by you feeling better, you're in a better place to help those who are suffering. That inner humility that you feel creates a ripple effect that will spread throughout your inner self and throughout your environment. And it will lead to a deep appreciation and love for everything around you. So why don't you give it a try? Until next time, I'm Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD, wishing you strength in mind, body, and in soul. Bye for now. Charles, CoachMD, thanks for stopping by. Make sure to like and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you think you have a friend who might benefit from this video, share it with them. For access to exclusive content, support my Patreon. There you'll get private access to videos, meditations, health tips, even relationship and financial tips. You'll have a say in what I produce and be able to participate in a monthly call with me. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you soon.